made it to a Friday, Traeger Meat Friday, but I will warn you, I'm not in a good mood. And I have no reason to not be in a good mood because I get to see the smiling faces here of the Danettes. We have White Castle hamburgers that we're going to put on the Traeger grill a little bit later. Yes. I got brats. I got burgers. I have everything I want right here. But I'm in a bad mood. And, you know, I'm going to blame ESPN for my bad mood. They have this college basketball greatest of all time bracket thing that they're doing where they're bring in, Jay Bilas and Dick Vitale and, a lot of their experts, and they're telling you who is going to be the greatest player of all time as they have, this elimination here. And I'm watching the show last night, and I said to Fritzy, get me Jay Bilas's phone number. And Fritzy thought that I was going to try to book Jay Bilas for today. I go, no, I need his number right now.
Yeah, I didn't know how to take that. He sounded like angry or perturbed.
I called Todd, and he didn't answer the phone. I was that mad. I'm going, do these people even know what the hell they're talking about? And why didn't you answer the phone, Todd?
I was having dinner with the family, and I'm trying to make a better effort to not have the phone in my face like I always do. And then you sent me like some kind of hello question mark because I wasn't getting back to you quickly.
I know. I was just watching this, and I'm going, okay. I saw everybody play in person except for Bill Russell. Out of all the players that they're talking about, he was the one guy, I think, out of that group. And I think it's 32 players. And then I start to see some opinions here where, Seth Greenberg made the right call. He says Lou Alcindor is the best player in college basketball history, which is the right answer. Reese Davis, smart guy. Lou Alcindor over Christian Laettner. All right, that's fine. Christian Laettner is one of the great players of all time. May not like him, but he is. Rebecca Lobo picked Breanna Stewart over Christian Laettner. That's fine because Breanna Stewart at UConn went 4 for 4. 4 titles, and then she was the most outstanding player all 4 years. You can't do any better than that. So with just sheer accomplishment, she would be the standard bearer. Now, Alcindor only played 3 years at UCLA on varsity because back then freshmen weren't eligible, or he would have won a 4th title because when he came in, his freshman team beat the varsity that just won the national championship. So Lou Alcindor is the greatest college basketball player of all time. Jay Williams. Jay, I love you, but what are you thinking? He went with Michael Jordan as the greatest college basketball player of all time. Jay, he wasn't even the best player on his own team one year. It was James Worthy. And if I stop his career after North Carolina, he's Keith Smart.
Look how you're yelling.
I know, but this is what I was doing last night in my basement. I'm going, Michael Jordan is not anywhere near the greatest college basketball player of all time. He was a good college basketball player. We didn't know anything about Patrick Ewing is a greater college basketball player. Hakeem Olajuwon is a better college basketball player than Michael Jordan. Christian Laettner is a better college basketball. Oh, my God. Is Jay Bilas with us?
He sure is.
Hi, Jay. Why am I so upset?
Probably because there's nothing else to be upset at that is this trivial. But I was equally as upset as you when I saw the bracket and tried to change it, but to no avail.
All right. I was that angry. I don't know if that was live last night, but I'm texting you that I wanted to yell at somebody, and so I was yelling at you. So if you were busy working and I interrupted you, I apologize for being unprofessional.
Well, that actually wasn't live. It was live on Tuesday night, or it was supposed to be live, and then Tom Brady, I think, hiccuped or something, and it was 5 hours of coverage live because there was a hint he was going to the Buccaneers. So
wow.
We had to tape it. We taped it. You know how that goes, Dan. We taped it as if it was live, and the taping as if it was live took longer than if it was live.
Yeah, I've been there before. Okay, so explain how this came about and the number of players. How did you come up with that number?
Well, it came about the lack. I assume the lack of programming because of the coronavirus pandemic. So I was told, "Hey, we're going to do this show. Would you be available?" Basically from 6 to 9 on Tuesday. So of course I'm available. Absolutely. But I don't know how they came up with it. When I saw the bracket, I had said, "Look, so the guy's got to be moved up here, moved down. What about so and so? How come this player's not on it?" And I didn't have any say in that. I think they made a couple of adjustments, but I don't even know who the they is. I just dealt with my producer on it, and it was a good idea. I mean, it's a really neat thing, and it's a good discussion point and a good argument. But to me, I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead, but to me, the whole thing begins and ends with Kareem.
Yes.
I mean, after we're like, well, what are we talking about? That Kareem was the greatest player ever. It's not a discussion point, and we can talk about the rest of them, but we know who's going to win before we start. It's Kareem.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Now, if I take away Lou Alcindor, now we have an interesting discussion. I'm amazed that you had. I mean, Jay Williams should know better. He had Michael Jordan as the best college player of all time.
Yeah, he handled it a little bit differently. If I understood him right, he was talking about if it were a one-on-one game, which I miss very much. Remember when CBS had during halftimes they had one-on-one and horse competitions among the NBA players? So he had it as kind of some one-on-one competition, which I none of us had a chance to talk beforehand, and I didn't get that, but and I didn't get some of the other stuff. Like I don't know if you remember what I did, but my thing was I didn't care where the seatings were, and then I went through the bracket and said, well, wait a minute, like this is a misseating, so this guy's going to win. I'm going to move this one on and all that stuff, and mine was based on great. Who's the greater player, and so mine was like Cheryl Miller was the greatest women's player versus the second greatest men's player. I advanced Cheryl Miller to the final, and it was Kareem. But so I went off great. Other people voted differently or said, 4 championships versus if Breanna Stewart had 4. And I'm like, well, I think if Kareem had played, he would have got 4. That guy was the game. And Seth Greenberg made the point. They changed the rules for Kareem when he was in college. Transcendent doesn't even – LeBron did not approach how good Kareem was as far as being a high school player, going to college, what he did in college, all that stuff. It was a different deal. Like he was game changing in every way and above everyone that had played. I mean, and it stuns me, Dan, that people don't seem to remember how great he was. And it's not like I'm fine with let's argue about MJ versus Kareem, but it's MJ and Kareem only. And then everybody else we'll argue about a little bit later. But it's those two.
Yeah, I liken Cheryl Miller to women's college basketball like I do Martina Navratilova to women's tennis. They were different. They were athletes in there. And Cheryl was, you watch Cheryl, like I watched The Women of Troy again. I've watched that documentary twice now just because that was a big deal at the time when they knocked off Louisiana Tech. And Cheryl scored 100 points in a game in high school. She was a difference maker. If you want to put Breanna Stewart as the greatest women's college basketball player of all time, I have no problem with that. You can't do any better than she did. You won 4 titles and you're 4 times the most outstanding player. Diana Taurasi, I have no problem with that if you want to put her in there as well. But the greatest player of all time is Lou Alcindor. What drove me crazy is why is Trae Young in there? He's not one of the great college basketball players. He was there for 1 year. Why is oh, God, I got Pete Maravich at 13. I got Jerry West at 13. What is going on here?
I don't know. I don't know whether it was frankly because it was a television show, and I'm just speculating because I haven't talked to anybody about this. There are other more important things that I'm dealing with right now, and you are too. But my guess is, and it is just a guess, is that there were more younger people involved than older people, and they wanted a cross section where you did have younger players represented. Because I didn't think Kevin Durant should have been a psyop. He won 1 tournament game.
No, I know.
And the only thing I would say about Maravich, like I'm with everybody that Maravich should not have been a 13 or whatever he was. He should have been way higher. But Maravich never played in an NCAA tournament game.
He had a bad team, though. I mean, he was the only guy on his team, and the tournament wasn't as big as it. Everybody makes the tournament now.
I get it. I'm not saying he shouldn't be revered as one of the greatest of all time. But I don't want to go too far in the other direction either, because there are other guys like Elgin Baylor should have been in that, and Elgin Baylor didn't have any teammates either, and it's not like Oscar Robertson played with a whole bunch of superstars. Played with good players. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anybody, but other players were able to get their teams to more wins, and Maravich didn't. Their teams didn't win. Not only didn't make the tournament, they didn't win at a high level.
He was a great player. He
no question, one of the greatest ever. Yeah. I'm not arguing that, but the idea that he should have been up with Kareem and all the others.
No.
When we're parsing out championships here, like some people are parsing out saying, okay, well, this guy won this many championships. He only won this many. And I go, okay, Maravich didn't even play in the tournament. And everybody's saying we should be up here. I'm like, look, I'm not arguing he shouldn't be, but I'm like, we can't talk out of both sides of our mouths on all this stuff.
I would take Jay Williams out of the 6th spot and, put Pete Maravich there. I would take Jay out of the entire thing after he picked Michael Jordan as the best college basketball player of all time. I just slapped the floor. That's what I just did, Jay. I just slapped the floor.
The problem that Jay had was he was the 6th seed. He ran into another misseeded player, David Robinson. And David Robinson, as you remember, took Navy to the Elite Eight. And were it not for the opposing center he ran into, they could have gone all the way.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
You didn't bite on that one.
No, I'm not. I agree with David Robinson when you were saying how he took Navy to the Elite Eight. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
And if it weren't, for the team and the opposing center he ran into,
I mean,
better.
And you shut him down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was the Dan Dockich of the Navy 2K.
And Leitner is in the conversation as well. I have no problem with that. But man, whatever. All right, I know.
Let me tell you the Leitner one. I was a grad assistant when Leitner was playing. Maybe the greatest competitor I've ever seen. I mean, unbelievable. The guy was an unbelievable athlete. He could do everything, and has had equally an accomplished career as maybe Breonna Stewart, if you want to make sort of that argument.
Yeah.
But he what would you do? Who is a better player between Leitner and Danny Manning? That was a tough one for me. Just better player. I'm not talking about how many rings, list of accomplishments, because Danny's was damn close. But that was a hard one. Like the 1-8 matchup in the second round, you're going, I'm not sure who's the better player.
Danny Manning had less to work with, and that was one of the great tournament runs in history with Danny and the Miracles and what they did in Kansas City. It's just that Leighton, I would take Leighton.
Career, over 3,000 points. Like, he had a ridiculous. He's at the top of every list, and that's where the Big 12. When they these Big 12 records they talk about, that doesn't include the Big 8. Like, so all the guys like Trae Young's records and all that stuff, that doesn't include anything that happened like Wayman Tisdale or Danny Manning or all those guys that played in the Big 8. That doesn't even count for the Big 12. They didn't even bring those records with them. It's crazy.
I got to go back to ESPN. I'm announcing now that I'm going back to ESPN, so I got to set some stuff straight up there. And I'll do it, Jay.
I'm with you. I'll storm the front door with torches and pitchforks, just like I'm ready. The two of us. Can you imagine what a wonderful respite that would be to have us go in and argue about something as trivial as this?
Well, you'd be Mr. Inside, I'd be Mr. Outside. That would be the show.
Right. Doc Blanchard, Glenn Davis.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah. Well, that was my nickname in high school. I was Mr. Outside.
That was just your social nickname.
No, I didn't go outside my social life, but I did when I was taking jumpers. I was Mr. Outside. Just letting you know.
Oh, I thought you were talking about being like the boy in the plastic bubble. special relevance now.
Jay,
you remember that show?
Yes, I remember. I thought you were on my
Travolta?
side here. That was John Travolta, wasn't it?
John Travolta, and the song was written by Paul Williams.
Oh, God. All right. Go back to doing whatever you were doing, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm watching Better Call Saul. I'm getting through the first season. It's fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's well done. Thank you, Jay.
All right, brother.
That's Jay Bilas. Yeah, I got plenty of sleep. I just I settled in to watch Entertainment Tonight and Extra with Billy Bush, and all of a sudden I flip over to the mothership, and then I go, oh, they're debating the greatest college basketball player of all time. And then I got angry. So I went, does anybody here know what they're doing? How many people voting actually saw all these players? Who is the mystery caller?
The mystery caller is our friend, ESPN NFL reporter Jeff Darlington.
Oh, okay. A little victory lap for Jeff Darlington, ESPN NFL reporter, who told us a couple of weeks ago that Tom was going to be leaving. He would be shocked if he stayed. And also he said, Dan, don't rule out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as I laughed and scoffed. And Paulie put up a $500 bet for Jeff Darlington for the Jimmy V Foundation, I believe. And Jeff joining us now. Congratulations, Jeff.
Yes, no, I'm not calling for a victory lap. I'm just calling as part of the donations department for the V Foundation, letting you know that we take all major credit cards, we take checks, Apple Pay.
Yes, Paul.
Jeff, can I Venmo you? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to help the cause.
No, I don't know. I don't know how that works. It's all in good fun.
So when did you know it?
That he wasn't coming back?
Yeah.
I mean, when I said that I would be shocked, look, here's the thing. I was coming from a very sincere place when I said that, and when the context that I had added on the show was that there are still people around Tom, though, that think that if he were to go into Bill Belichick's office and Belichick laid out this master plan, that they wouldn't surprise, despite the fact that Brady himself is the one who's saying, I'm not going back. So I lay out that context because, look, I think we were all in the same kind of level of disbelief that Tom would leave the Patriots. But quite frankly, when even those close to him aren't necessarily believing him, it's tough to just sit there and say he's not going back. But, at that point, after kind of hearing it for longer than a month that he wasn't going back, I was finally to the point where, you know what, he's not going back.
What do you think the main, like if you were going to trying to pin down the one reason why he wasn't going back?
Fun. He wanted to have fun, and that can be a matter of running away from something that was no longer necessarily fun and maybe chasing something that would be. He's not ready to retire from football. Yes, the relationship between he and Bill Belichick was strained, but I don't think that it's necessarily critical to say that was the entire reason. It was also just about a new challenge and kind of reinvigorating himself. And I think it can be both, to be honest.
Do you think Edelman is in Tampa next year?
I don't think so. Like, I can't imagine Bill Belichick being like, yeah, let me go ahead and send some pieces to allow Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl and make me look so stupid. Like I just don't. I mean, look, that's totally me just kind of speculating, but why would he do that?
I'm right there with you. Unless he goes, that guy's going to be 34, and he's been banged up. Maybe I can get something, and maybe they'll take him off my hands as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like you kind of go across the board with that. Like Gronkowski's still property of the Patriots. Like, why wouldn't the Bucs go try to offer something for that too? But to that point, like I just can't see Belichick being like, yeah, let me go ahead and help out this cause. This seems like a really smart thing for me to do.
Final 30 seconds. Who do you think the quarterback is going to be in New England?
I could see them trying to make Stidham work. I know that's, again, probably pretty surprising, but I could see them really feeling like they're going to go in there and prove their point with Stidham. So, Andy Dalton's certainly one of the products out there, but the possibilities. But I think this is a team that will look towards Stidham and try to give him a chance.
Yeah, Paulie.
Jeff, you want to go double or nothing on some Aussie rules football tonight? I could make it rain.
Like a true degenerate. I love it.
Thank you, Jeff. Well done.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it. No,
be safe. That's Jeff Darlington, ESPN. Come on.
Check it in.
Check it in. Well, check in with Seton. I just gave you gold. I'm trying to get the White Castle hamburgers going. Shams Charania, the great NBA insider for The Athletic, he was the first to break the Rudy Gobert testing positive for coronavirus. Also, Kevin Durant, Christian Wood, 2 Laker players have all tested positive, and Shams was the leading man on those stories as well. When do you think we'll find out the Laker players who tested positive?
Yeah, Dan, great joining you. I think it's reached a point where it's really on the players to come forward, or obviously my job as a reporter is to probe and see, but it's reached a level where I think there are two spectrums. I think there's one side of players that want to raise awareness and want to make things I guess have their voice on it, and really want to remind America and the public in terms of just like staying quarantined, staying safe, being careful. I think there is still that stigma around it for another sector of players and people. And so that's just something that everyone has to deal with. I'm not sure when those will be out there. I don't know who those two players are right now. But really it doesn't matter. Just the fact that, you've had, I think 5, 6, 7, 8 organizations, more than a handful of organizations now impacted by the coronavirus, and the whole league hasn't even been tested yet. And I think that just goes to show you kind of what's going on around the country in terms of there's an amount of cases right now that we know of, but I'm sure there are plenty more.
What do you think the likelihood is of basketball returning this year?
I wish I could tell you it's very likely. I don't know. I think you're really looking at playing from anywhere between June and August. I think that's where players and teams and owners and even the league office have essentially targeted those kind of that 3-month period. They had Dr. Vivek Murthy on the Board of Governors call, I was told, earlier this week, and he let all the owners know, kind of gave them some sobering facts in terms of this is going to reach an inflection point over the next 2 to 3 months across the country. And even in the NBA, the cases will rise, and the comparison to Italy was made. And so I think there's a soberness to that, and I think people realize this is not just going to be a quick fix in the next month, in the next 2 months. This is going to take some time. And so I don't know. And when is it, reach a point where we are not going to play?
Yeah.
Is it August? Is it July? I still think the players, whether it's LeBron James, especially those 3 teams at the upper echelon, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Bucks, they all want to play no matter what, no matter if the season starts in August or September. The question is, will it be too late at that point?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if we even have basketball later on. And as you're saying, June to August, that's a pretty big window there of going, maybe. And then can you get fans to go back, or you shorten the season? Do you start the playoffs right away? I was told maybe you do a best of 3 in the opening round, a best of 5 after that, and then best of 7 after that. I guess all ideas are on the table, but I'm starting to believe that we're not going to have the NBA this season.
And one more thing to really look at is the fact that the NBA starting today, as I reported yesterday, they're shutting down all their practice facilities, right? So the players are essentially quarantined at home, don't have a choice for the foreseeable future. And how will their game shape be, between now and let's say they have a 2-month layoff where, we're in the same period, as a country and as a league where you can't do anything. You can't go to the facility. You can't go to a public gym. Guys, their conditioning is going to taper off. I've had a handful of players express some, concerns about that with me as well, in terms of that, this is going to affect our game shape. Are we going to be able to play when the season's back in July or August and we're not in shape? And so those are all things that the NBA has to think about. And I think that everyone wants basketball. There's no question about it. It's a matter of doing it safely. And I don't know how that's going to be. Is it going to be doing these games in G League arenas? Is it practice facilities? Is it, they're going to come up with something creative if this does go on in July or August.
Yeah. How do you think history is going to treat Rudy Gobert?
I've thought about this a lot over the last week, since last Wednesday. I think there's no question. I think he would even admit, and he has admitted, that there was some carelessness and, some recklessness in the way he touched the mics that previous, a couple days prior on that Monday. And just his behavior over the 2 days in terms of not fully understanding the veracity of this situation. But I think obviously he knows it now. I think the whole country knows it now. I think the NBA clearly has been at the forefront of it, and Adam Silver clearly has put his foot down and was the first pro league to suspend in America. And, everyone's kind of followed that same template ever since. And so I think he's going to be that first guy that tested positive and started a chain events in not only pro sports, but I think in America. I think that was a glaring moment across the whole country. And so someone had to be the first one. He was the first one. And as you're seeing now, this wasn't just all related to him. This wasn't just one player transmitting this disease or this virus. This is reaching every sector of the NBA, and it's only likely going to increase.
Shams, thank you. Great job on breaking those stories. We appreciate your time, and we'll be following you writing for The Athletic.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate
All right,
it.
that's Shams Charania. We want to say hello to the chat row. Tyler is monitoring that. Tyler, the moderator, is monitoring all the great folks with the chat row. Yes, he.
It's a little bit of controversy.
Why?
That started late last hour.
Why? What happened?
Tyler, the moderator,
Yes.
is a little heavy-handed with the censoring, apparently.
Oh, what? I don't know
Our
anything
very own
about-
Walter was censored earlier today, Paul Pabst.
What
Yeah.
happened?
Tyler swatted me. I got blocked by Tyler. So they're showing some videos during the break. They're showing when Perloff and I did that barbecue tour down in Houston.
Yeah.
And I was just commenting on the different places we went, Pinkertons and Killen's and all that stuff. And I said, man, Killen's barbecue, that's the best meat I've ever had. Blocked. Blocked.
Wow.
So what happens is when you're in that chat, and it'll say your name and then the comment is
Yeah.
right next to it. But when Tyler swats a comment, it just says comment deleted or something like that. Paul Pabst comment deleted.
Ooh.
I was asked if I wanted to rephrase and re-enter it to get back in the room. And I turned that offer down. I'm proud.
Okay, Tyler was out there cooking the hamburgers, and I said, he goes, I made a mistake with Paul. And I go, what happened? He goes, I silenced him for like 5 minutes. I made a mistake. I said, oh, that's okay. Oh, we're showing Tyler. If you're watching now on YouTube, Tyler's out there in Traegerville. He's smoking heaters and smoking hamburgers, and he is moderating the chat room.
You might want to stop by Kinko's and fire up the resume after he's done with the burgers.
Is Dave Roberts there with us?
He sure is.
He's the Dodgers manager. Are you bored?
I'm a little stir crazy, but I think that fortunately, doing family games and some Hallmarks and some movies, it's keeping us occupied. Right now, actually, Dan, fortunately, we got the green light to move my son out of his dorm. So we're kind of taking the family up there, getting the stuff out, and heading back to San Diego.
How often do you stay in touch with your players?
Every day, it's a different group of players just to kind of catch up by way of text or a call. And I just learned that we're going to shut down our complex today for the next 2 weeks and kind of reassess and see where we're at. And, you know, you're trying to be responsible, keep guys going, though, that want to keep working in treatment. But I think ultimately you got to be responsible, and shutting down Camelback Ranch and taking care of the staff is the most important thing.
But also, I don't know if you get – we had Joe Madden on last hour, and I said, you're a first-year manager with the Angels, and you're just getting to know names there. You at least have the benefit of being around these players. Do you have a good handle on what kind of team you think you're going to have this year?
Absolutely. And I think the thing is that I do, and I think that's a good point with Joe and learning his guys, and for me, knowing who they are, what they're about, and in a time like this, although something – completely unprecedented, trusting the fact that they're going to do whatever they can to stay in shape and keep their arms in shape, their bodies in shape. And we don't know when this potential start date, if any, is going to happen, but I can still, count on our guys.
Yeah, I was wondering that as well. Do you come back and do you get to do spring training for a little while, or do you think you're coming back and you're going to be thrown in and you're playing games right away?
Yeah, I think for me, and just kind of speaking logically, and I just think that it's a 2-3 week ramp up, and I think that's still abbreviated. So there's got to be some latitude with the roster size. So whether that's 30 or the whole 40-man roster to kind of take care of the pitching, and kind of then you kind of a week or two later, then you kind of curtail that roster, that active roster, to ultimately get back to 26. But yeah, I think, Dan, everything should be on the table. I was talking to my wife earlier this morning. It's like this year is going to be the year of amendments. And I think that everything is on the table and has to be for this year. And hopefully there'll be some normalcy in 21.
Yeah, but I'm also curious with what position is most affected by this right now where you're not playing?
It's the starting pitching. Because I think that starting pitching, obviously, you want starting pitching, but you're talking about when you break camp, you're built up to 90 to 100 pitches, and so these guys are going through their off season, their winners, and getting ready. So to now get the guys built up through 4 innings, looking back a week ago, and then now to kind of hopefully not go dormant. Because then injuries could kind of potentially happen when you kind of ramp back up. So I think the starting pitching to get up to whatever is feasible to start a Major League season is probably the thing we got to keep our finger on.
And then you look at the NBA, and they're targeting somewhere between June and August. At what point do you think there's a drop-dead date for this season?
I do. I don't know that date. I think the NBA is different because they're 2/3 of the way of their season done, where we're starting anew potentially, and so how much of the season makes it relevant? So I do think there is a drop dead point. I know that ideally everyone wanted to get in that 162 or 131, whatever that number, but as every day goes on, the more we learn. It's seeming more unlikely, but I'm still, trying to hold out hope.
You driving your wife crazy yet?
So, you know what? I'm not driving her crazy yet. She was encouraging me to go play some golf and some tennis, but now, with the Gavin Newsom, encouragement mandate in California, so then now the golf courses are kind of being shut down and tennis. So, I think if we revisit this conversation, that question in about a week, I think I'll have a different answer.
Are you the fastest dad in the neighborhood?
So seeing that I live in the same neighborhood as Carlos Quentin and my buddy Chad Denena, who started Nixon Watches, I'm the fastest guy. Yeah, I am the fastest guy. Outside of my son. My son can still beat me in a race or can get me in a race now. That's a different conversation when I realize my son is finally faster than I am.
How many players are you faster than on your roster?
How many players am I faster than? I know he would disagree, but I know I can beat Kenley Jansen in a race. I know it.
I think I can beat Kenley Jansen.
That's right. Hey, he's svelte right now. He's in good shape. He's a lean, cool 275 right now. So if I can't beat Kenley and Alex Wood, then I don't know what. So they're not going to be happy that I called them out. But I'm going to go Alex Wood, Kenley, Julio. I think Clayton can get me, and that might be about. I can get Brusdar Gratterall too. I think I can beat in a race.
Hey, great to check in with you. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll talk soon about baseball.
All right, DP, take care.
That's Dave Roberts, Dodgers manager.
Bacon burgers while monitoring the chat.
Moderating.
That's
Tyler, the moderator.
yeah, Tyler, the chat guy.
I can't wait to have those White Castles on the track.